Alright, today we're going to work on our basic percents. You should have glued this into your spiral, and if you followed the directions on the board, you should have 3 different colored pencils. You might want 4, just depending on if you want to color the 10% line or not. So what we're going to do first is we are going to go through and find the patterns within this chart. Okay, so the one I like to start with are the fifths. So if you're looking in the fractions column, I see that I can count by fifths. Okay, so this is 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, and then 1 whole is 4/5. Now, the 1 whole line is going to be colored like all of the colors, so maybe you can shade it kind of like a rainbow. Just do the top strip 1 color and then move down by each of the colors as we get to it. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped 4/5. Here's 4/5, and then this would be 5/5. All right. So what you'll notice, these all go together. Okay. So you can shade all of these your first color, and then let's take a look at the percents. So in the same rows, 1/5 is 20%, 2/5 is 40%, 3/5 is 60%. 4/5 is 80%, and then again we have 100% at the bottom. Okay, so you'll notice that the fifths count by 20s, and the reason for this is because 5 times 20 is 100. Okay, so when we're dealing with percents, if I'm talking about 20%, I have to have 5 of them to get up to 100%. Okay. Now, if you look over to the decimal, you'll notice that we're just counting by 2s. You could also call them counting by 20s if you wanted to add the hundredths place. So 2.2 or 0.20, 4 or 40, 6 or 60, 8 or 80, and then we have the 100 at the end. Okay, so I want you to take this whole, you're going to shade this whole thing your first color. So that's our first pattern. Whenever we're counting by fifths, we're also counting by 20s. All right. Now, what this means is if you see, if it's giving you a percent like 20%, obviously the decimal is going to be super easy because you're just going to say, oh, that's just 0.20. Okay. But dealing with the fraction, you've got to make the connection that 20 and fifths go together. Okay, so if it's 40%, then you're going to start counting 20s. You're going to go 20, 40. Okay, I counted 2, so that means it's 2/5. Okay, maybe you're counting up to 80. You're going to go 20, 40, 60, 80. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 fifths. All right, does that make sense? Hope so. All right, let's move on to our next color. Okay, let's go to our 25s. Okay, we're going to count quarters. So starting with the percents, we've got 25%, 50%, 75%, and then 100%. Okay, so if you're counting money, counting quarters, 25, 50, 75, 100. Now, what's the one that's paired with quarters, with 25-cent pieces? We have to have 4 of them. So fourths are paired with the 25 cents. Okay, so 25% is the 1/4, 50% is 2/4, which is also the same thing as 1/2. If you want to write 2/4 on here to remember, that's good. You can also remember 50 is half of 100, so that's why it's the 1/2. 75 is 3/4 because we're talking about 3/4, and then 1 whole for 100%. All right, the decimals are easy because it's just the percent written as a decimal. 0.25, 0.5 or 0.50, 0.75, and then 1 whole. All right. All right, your third color. Now, these are the weird ones, and that's just what I call them, the weird ones. The 1/3 and 2/3, they are weird. Okay, 1/3 and 2/3 are weird. If you were to go and divide 1/3, 1 divided by 3, okay, you're going to end up with a repeating 3 decimal. Okay, it goes in 3 times, that's 9, 1 left over, becomes 10. 3 times is 9, 1 left over, it becomes 10. 3 times, and it goes over and over again. Okay, if you do that with 2/3, it's just doubling that. So we have 1/3 is 0.3 repeating, and 2/3 is 0.6 repeating, because it's just twice as much as the 1/3. All right, now the percents are either going to be written as 33 and 1/3, or you might see it as 33.3 repeating percent. You might also see it like that, and 66.6 repeating percent. Okay, but either way, it's pretty easy to remember because it's really weird. It's different. Okay, the 1/3 and 2/3 are the ones that repeat, and they're the ones with the weird percentage signs. All right. Lastly, we have the 10%, and this one's pretty easy. This is why I said you might want a 4th color. 10% is the same thing as 1/10. That's super easy to remember, 1/10. And then just 0.1 or even 0.10, you could say. All right, so these are the patterns that I want you looking for. Study your 20% and your 5ths. Your 25% go with your 1/4, and then your 1/3 are the weird ones, the 33 repeating and the 66 repeating. All right, I want you studying these. You're going to have a quiz over it tomorrow morning, or when you come to class.